What's that? Howls from the woods. Movement under the water. Something you notice at the corner of your eye, but you look, it's gone. This is Cryptid Talk. Hello, everyone. Yes, I am not dead. Huzzah! Not dead, not dead. No, sorry that it's been a while since the last episode. Um, Unfortunately, life gets in the way of things sometimes. So unfortunately, I had to put the podcast on hold for now. Um, and a lot of technical issues too with certain things. The program that I use, Riverside, they the website just was not working for me. I think there might have been some sort of technical problem on their end, but like something just wasn't right to where like I spent like an hour and a half trying to get it to work so that I can, actually like do my thing that I need to do. But unfortunately I couldn't get it work, and unfortunately I have a bad habit of when something like this like doesn't work, it like my any motivation for it just drops like significantly. Like, I'm not sure if I mentioned this, but quick story. Um, it took me 3 attempts to record the very first episode of the podcast. I originally got a recording program from Best Buy for Christmas, and I was like, oh great, it's not like anything super duper crazy, like it's just a one-time buy program, and boom, there you go. It's like, okay, basic editing. I here to record and everything like that. Sure. So I recorded the first episode, and I'm like, all right, cool. I pressed the button, and the little sound bar comes up. But it was weird though, because there was only like, it wasn't showing like the flux of like the like volume and audio going up and down, like you would notice if you've ever looked at audio on any sort of recording equipment or just anything in general kind of thing. And when I was recording, I was seeing it that it was moving, so it was picking me up. It was doing the little wavy lines. But after I was done recording, it's like it wasn't there anymore. And I tried pressing play, and it just wouldn't work. And I was like, why didn't it work? Why didn't it work? And so I don't know. I couldn't, like, there was nothing I could have done. There was no, like, as far as I'm aware, there wasn't anything else I can do. Like, I tried looking up videos of like, oh, what do you do to record and stuff like that. So I followed the instructions and everything. And the instruction, like, okay, do this. Like, okay, well, yeah, that's doing great. That's not helping me out now. Like, what happens when I don't do, like, there's a lot of very helpful videos and things on the internet of how to do a thing, but there's very little to nothing on what happens though if the thing that you're trying to do doesn't do that thing, or this isn't there, or something along those lines. And there's rarely to never an answer for them. So I'm like, I don't know what to do. So I think I waited like a couple weeks, like a couple months or so, to try again. Same problem. I recorded it, I saw it, didn't happen. So then I decided to do some tests of like, okay, all right, these were like about an hour. What happens if I do them for like maybe a couple seconds, like a minute? And for some reason, it would record those. But for some reason, if I ever tried doing the long ones, it's like it didn't like keep it around. And I'm like, the heck? What the heck's going on with that? So again, that set me back again. And then, of course, I then was fun. And then this is when I discovered Riverside, thanks to my friend Matt Pruitt mentioning to me, because he uses I believe he uses an app called Audacity for Bigfoot and Beyond, the podcast with Cliff, Bobo, and him. Also, if you haven't already, go listen to the Matt Pruitt episode that we had just a little bit ago earlier this year. It was a great talk with him. Hopefully we have him on again soon, because there was some stuff we didn't even get to. I didn't get to his book and everything, a bunch more questions. So expect Matt Pruitt on the show again in the future. So now, and then when I got that figured out. So now what happened with this was that the program just wasn't working, and it just shot down my motivation to do it and everything like that. But now, motivation's back up. Some stuff has happened since then. Water for my Yeti water bottle. Not sponsored by Yeti. Just a good, decent water bottle I got. So there's a bunch of stuff to update on. So to start off, the book I am working on that I've mentioned before, I'm still like in the early stages of it. I will be working on it soon. I've been talking to some friends and, people who will be, when the time comes, would be able to, read it over for me, give me some advice, or get me in touch with the right people to be able to get the process of getting the book made, easier. Because you're like, in the grand scheme of things, compared to some of my friends like Matt Pruitt, for example, he's using because he has written a book that he is well known. He's already well established in the field. So he's a somebody kind of thing. Me, I am just a nobody that no one knows of, and I'm like, oh, this is just some nobody person trying to get a book made and stuff like that. Sure, okay, sure. And so yeah, so I've been talking with him a little bit, and then a friend of ours from Kentucky, I contacted him and asked him if he would be willing to do the cover of my book when the time comes, and he said absolutely. So I gave him a brief idea of it, and I drew like a really, really, really rough sketch of just trying to get the point across. And he says he loves it. Obviously, we have, and at some point he said he wanted to talk about it more, just so we can go over more like the finite details and maybe other things like that. Of course, the book is nowhere near any closer to that point of having to worry about the cover. Just trying to get some stuff rolling in a way, kind of thing. Like, I don't know how long it takes for him to do one of those. I forget. He has told us, but I forget how long. Excuse me, but I can't remember how long it takes him. So obviously, I want to mention it now. So if it takes a bit, he can get started with it. We bounce back ideas and everything. So just being prepared. So, and the idea I have for it is going to be really, really, what I have for it is really cool, and he loves it. So that when the time comes, we hope maybe we'll share that when get to that point. Of course, I obviously got to do the obvious thing of actually writing the book, kind of thing. So process for that will be starting soon. Actually, before we get into any of the Bigfoot stuff, because before last time we were here, I had my BFRO expedition. I'll talk about that, what I learned, what happened, what didn't happen, and just kind of we'll start from there. Crackers. Okay. This is what happens when I go in crackers. Oh, okay. Okay, now I remember where I was going. Like, my short-term memory is one of my worst qualities of how short my memory is. So, the release schedule for the podcast is going to be a bit different than it was last time. Originally, when I was doing it a lot, there would be a new episode every week. And the problem that I kind of didn't think I'd run into that soon, but ultimately I did, was kind of, in a way, running out of ideas, per se. Not running out, but not running out kind of thing. Of being like, I know that once I started doing it, because I pretty much through the list, I went through like a good majority of like the main big cryptids that a lot of people know about and a lot of people don't know about, kind of thing. And so I had a feeling, I knew I'd get to that at some point. I'm thinking, okay, no, it's like, okay, no, obviously I would probably, run out of like a decent enough cryptid ideas to do. I do know there is some stuff that I don't believe, I can't remember if I did do some, but I'll have to re-look to see if there's enough information specifically about it. But so I went through a good majority of them, and I knew that that I was like, I actually really did run out of things, and then that's when I started doing some of the other episodes that were like more like concept based in a way, but not like particular cryptid, but like kind of like a broad thing or a particular idea or something, blah 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 blah. So that's what I'm gonna try to obviously do like that. But so as of today of recording, because as soon as I'm done recording this and everything like that, this is gonna be uploaded like right away. So what the release schedule I'm going to plan to do to the best of my ability is there's going to be an episode every 2 weeks, same time, 10 a.m. on Saturdays. It's going to be the same time. That won't change. And then we'll just go from there. Or was it 8? No, I think it was always 10. Yeah. So we'll start releasing them at 10 o'clock every 2 weeks on Fridays. Because what I also want to do is that I also want to start spending time on starting to write the book. Because obviously, if I spend like every week, writing, like doing stuff for the episode, it's like I had to like not really force myself to, but like I kind of like, I can't forget to get a page or two done, stuff like that, for like at least that week to to have for the book. Excuse me. So that's the plan I'm going to try to do. Every 2 weeks, Saturdays, 10 a.m., I'll be releasing an episode every 2 weeks. And then in between those times, I'll start, writing the book and, getting prepared with that and everything. I'm hoping that if everything goes well with the book's not going to be very big. I'm taking a random shot of the dark. It might be 100 pages or less. Like, it's really not going to be, it may be not even close to 100. But it's gonna be less than that, and I'm hoping that within a year, would, fingers crossed, hopefully done. Because again, I don't know how long it takes for a book to be made once you give I guess the printers. I don't know why I can't think of the people who make the books, the people who print the books and everything. How, like, all right, here's all the information, boom, go. Like, how long does it take for them to do it? I'm not sure. I mean, again, with machines, they can probably get it done a lot more quicker than I probably think it is. But so that's what we're planning on. So so give it time for that. But I'm hoping within the year or less, the book should be done, and I'll be able to talk about more about the book and everything. But I am very looking forward to it. It's something that I don't expect. I'm not doing it to make bank, to make a bunch of money and everything else like that. I'm not even expecting this book to even sell that well. I'm just doing it because I want to. I'm doing it for the fun. Doing it as a way of there's all this information that's more accessible for people who don't know where to look for the kind of information that I'll be doing with the book. And so yeah, so so that's what we do with that. So technically this will be coming out today on Sunday, November 30th. Also, my birthday was also November 27th on Thanksgiving this day. Woo, yeah, 34. Woo, okay, yeah, number. Woo, yeah, yeah. So, so, what we'll do with that is now, so that'll be every 2 weeks, and I'll start writing the book, and then I'll give updates to it anytime I get anything significant happens or worthwhile or anything like goo-ga-da with that. I'm also obviously not going to be rushing this too, because obviously I want to do this. I want to do this book right and correct. I want it to be something that people will enjoy, and at some point I plan to maybe have some physical copies that I can sell at some of these conventions that I'm going to be vendoring at, which I am planning on trying to vendor at one of the New Jersey conventions that we visited last year just to see it, because I've been going there for the past couple of years. But me going there will hopefully will do well. So, and I guess before that, the last thing you technically heard of me ish was around the time when the one festival in August happens, and that one went. There was a lot of people there. Unfortunately, we did do the best. We did okay, but nothing best. But I kind of threw the ball a little bit of how I wanted to go. Like, we were kind of just like a normal vendor. We just kind of set our stuff up and then just sat there, kind of thing. So next year, I plan on doing a way that we're going to divide our stuff into the product that will be selling, and then maybe my investigator stuff on the other side, being like, hey, I'm not just a vendor, I'm also a podcaster, and I'm also someone who's also a Bigfoot investigator slash mainly, but we'll also look into other stuff as well if it seems worthwhile, kind of thing. So I want to try to be more approachable of people coming forward and talking about that. So that's the plan, that's the thought, that's the hope. So that's what we're going to try to do next year, so that we can be better prepared for that. Because the one from last year, we did really well, got a bunch of new subscribers, but it just didn't do well. We did get free Auntie Anne's though, that we were sitting right in front of. All I had to do was hold their bag of Auntie Anne's pretzels with in my Bigfoot costume, and they gave us a bunch of free food. It was awesome. I think I got a pretzel dog bites, and then the cheese they had, mwah, that was some good spicy cheese. So that's the whole thing with the festivals and everything. So as of right now, I should be doing 2 festivals next year. 3 if we're lucky, if we can get to Cryptid Con in Kentucky. So fingers crossed for that one, but that one's hard to get into because I think I heard at one point the wait list for that is over 100 people or so. There's a lot of people that try to get into this vendor spot, and a lot of they always bring back some of the returning good vendors, and they try to get some new ones in there. So so we'll have to see. So hold on a second there. So the other thing that did happen that I was also looking forward to was the BFRO expedition that I went on this year in central northern Pennsylvania. It was about a actually, I think it was actually about a 4-ish drive. Drive was great. No problems at all and anything like that. God dang it, honestly. I'm sorry, folks. And so yeah, the expedition went great. Met everyone, all good time. The weather was okay. The weather was like rainy and wet while we were there. So at first it wasn't that bad, but the rest of it, and it wasn't like a constant downpour. Thankfully, the most of the raining happened like at night. After we were done for the night and we all just went in. and weather can be so hit and miss. Some people say that Bigfoot, like other animals, hunkers down during rain and stuff like that. But then some people say that Bigfoot actually think like, oh, a lot of things are hunkered down, especially humans. I'm gonna go. I'm just gonna go run, and just see what happens, kind of thing. So, so it wasn't that bad. I might have gotten a video. I might have gotten a thermal recording of a porcupine or a possum, maybe, just by going the movements of it. It was pretty interesting. So I was like, oh, that might be a porcupine or a possum. If it was a porcupine, that'd actually be pretty cool. At one point, I thought we were looking at a Bigfoot through my therm, but it was actually just a deer that just happened to be facing us, and we ultimately saw a turn. And I was like, oh man. So that was that. Well, then one of the other days, they asked some volunteers ahead of time that there was an area that they wanted to check out, but you had to traverse a little bit of a river to get to it. And it wasn't shallow. I think at the deepest point, at least at the beginning part of it where we started, probably got up to maybe at least to like my waist, maybe just a little bit below that. But it wasn't ridiculous. I got special like those fly fishing, like big overall pants, and they worked great. They were really good. And so we walked around for a couple hours, and then came back. On our way back, we may have discovered a possible juvenile, or I forget which direction we were coming from. We might have found a possible juvenile track. So I will, and okay, we'll get there. So yeah, so we looked at it. It wasn't very big, but it was barefoot, and where we were on was a pretty muddy trail. And sure, it was only in winter, not winter, dummy. Late, I guess that would have been early summer, late spring, early summer. But yeah, so we have some. It was clearly barefoot. I'll put a link to it on the Facebook page. And if you haven't followed the Facebook page already, be sure you do. Facebook.com/Cryptid Talk. That's where I post a lot of things I talk about on here sometimes that, if you want to see what they are, go and follow the Facebook page. Because if I remember correctly, looking at the Facebook page, there isn't a lot of people, like as many of the subscribers that we have. Like, thank you to all the subscribers, by the way. There's nowhere near that many that follow the Facebook page. As last time I checked. Actually, you know what? For giggles and other giggles, let us take a look at that real quick. The heck? Come on. I think should still be good. Okay. I will deal with that later. Oh, wait. Hold on. Yeah, I was checking it on my, I don't know why I didn't just go to my phone, because it'd just be so much easier. Let's see. Yeah, so I only have 25 followers, and that's less than half of what of my subscribers. So the people who are not subscribed, you are missing out on some really good stuff. So be sure you follow the Facebook page. I'll put a link to it. Actually, no, I can't. You won't, no point doing it there, but Facebook.com/Cryptid Talk. Make sure you go check that out, because that's where I post a lot of fun stuff that I show and do and talk about and everything like that. So the expedition, kept going on. The area, yeah. So we possibly might be going back to that area as a focal point for next year, because apparently there were also some sounds on some other people who did a day hike earlier to see how the area was. They'll see it was worth traversing. So apparently there's activity in that area, but on like overall, I'll say ultimately the night was actually quiet. The whole time of the whole trip was quiet. I personally, unfortunately, didn't hear or see anything besides seeing the track that we found. But unfortunately, I never heard anything. A few groups heard some things here and there, especially on the first main night. The night before I came there, before the official start, they did say there was some things possibly heard. But it's like, all right, cool, they're here. But then that's when it started getting wet and everything. And if they were there, they were hunkered down. Or the other problem we were running into, not as so much the first night I was there, but more on the remaining nights, was that the it got foggy, like really foggy, to a point where like the fog was really dampening, was really messing up with sounds. That like sounds like if we were making a sound and something wasn't that close, the chances of someone else hearing it wasn't like anyone hearing it was not good. Some we during some of the nights when we were doing little howl testing, like someone house here, kind of going down like a line. Later, like some of the people that are near the end, we never heard them during any of their howls, like anything. So if we couldn't hear them and they were only maybe like 100 yards away, if not even anything farther past that, like in the fog, they wouldn't be able to hurt us. We wouldn't be able to hear them. So unfortunately, we got unlucky with the weather being a bit of a butt. I made a lot of great friends, a lot of great connections. I'm already all prepared for next year's expedition that they moved to August, which kind of stinks a little bit because in August it's still kind of hot. And so the chances of being hot and humid while we're there, especially at night, not looking forward to that, but we will see how it goes. I'll try to be prepared as I possibly can to, not die of dehydration or from being a sweaty, messy puddle. So we'll see with that. But overall, though, the expedition was great. I had a lot of fun. Again, met a lot of great people. Thankfully, I didn't hear any rattlesnakes. I was really worried about that because in that area of, when you start getting up towards, more northern Pennsylvania and everything, it's more rocky. There are timber rattler snakes up there. And I did get rattlesnake guards specifically for that, just in case. Thankfully, I didn't need them. Nothing tried biting me or anything like that. So thank goodness for that. The other thing I did learn was that I learned how to take better notes, because originally I was thinking like, oh, like I can probably help with taking notes, and my note taking skills were not good. Let's say that. But then hearing someone else who was taking notes, who was better than me, think, all right, at this time we saw this, explain all these things and what we heard, like what they heard at what time for how long and stuff like that. And I'm like, okay. So now, and just in general, I've also never been the best at taking notes, unless they're like, here's all this information, copy it down, study it. Like, okay, cool. But for me, trying to create my own notes kind of thing rarely doesn't go well. It really doesn't. So now I've learned what to do, what not to do, how to do it better. Because being a Bigfoot investigator and everything, you have to get good at taking notes, especially if you're talking to witnesses, and making sure you get all the important details that they say and it's accurate and everything. So I'm hoping I'll be able to, do that and everything and do that better. But overall, the expedition was great. Not every Bigfoot expedition is going to have activity. It's not going to happen. I was fully aware of that. I only got lucky that we got as much activity as we did my first BFRO expedition, and they were like that was great. And this one was like, there really wasn't. We really didn't get much, unfortunately. We unfortunately I did see an elk track though, so that was kind of cool. Unfortunately, I didn't hear or see an elk. That was one of the things I was kind of hoping to hear the bugle, or it's the same thing as the candy, as the little snack. The bugle that it makes. It sounds little kind of sound it makes. Unfortunately, I was hoping to hear that, but I was like, dang, I didn't hear it. But those annoying birds up there, God, I hated those birds so much. But yes, the expedition was really good, and I'm looking forward to it again. Now, I'm also hoping that by this time next year, or maybe even hopefully before that, I should be at least in the process, or should be a member of the BFRO. The investigator, the main head investigator last time was saying like, oh, it's like I told, because when he interviewed me last December for it, they have to make sure the people that they're talking to aren't like people who are fakers or won't take this seriously, stuff like that. And so he's talking to me. He's like, yeah, I'm interested in being the BFRO. It's like, oh yeah, really? It's like, yeah. It's like, all right, well, like normally after you get like 2, 3, maybe 4 expeditions under your belt is when you can apply, or they'll consider you for possible, I guess enrollment or joining or something along those lines. So I'm really, really hoping that I do join. I am a member of the BFRO. I've heard a lot of things of why you should and shouldn't and everything, but the reasons why I want to join the BFRO is because I would love to be able to give other people a chance to tell their stories, to give them a voice that and to just talk about what they saw. And it also doesn't have to be like, at least for in particular for Bigfoot, obviously the BFRO is mainly focused on Bigfoot, but I would love to hear stories about other things that people have maybe saw or heard that weren't like that. So that'd be always interesting. But I want to pretty much just help people, kind of thing. It's like a lot of time people are scared to talk about this kind of stuff because they don't know what will happen, or people to judge them. It's like I've heard a lot of crazy. I've read a lot of supposedly real stories online as I talk to other people. So there's nothing at this point that I would judge anyone for, unless they say that, oh, I'm married to Bigfoot, kind of thing. It's like, okay, well, let's go see your husband or wife or whatever kind of thing in that situation. But overall, that's why I want to join the BFRO. I just want to help people and just also just talk to people about them. Maybe give them a peace of mind of like, you did see what you saw. You're not crazy. Don't beat yourself up about it, because a lot of people do. So okay, that was almost about 26 minutes of just talking about stuff that wasn't the main focus of the podcast of today's episode, but I felt it was important to mention and was very well needed, because I wanted to talk about the expedition and everything that I learned, and that I'm looking forward to what I'm going to do better next year, and be a lot more prepared for it and kick some serious butt, because just fingers crossed that that someday you'll hear Michael Madden be a throw investigator, kind of thing. So hopefully we go with that. So what is today's main focus of the podcast? Well, we are doing a Bigfoot episode. This will be number 4 of what we've done so far. And so some of this I've talked about just a bunch of different little different facts and everything, some interesting points about them. And we're also going to be talking about some well-known footage and stories in the Bigfoot world. And obviously, there's some obvious ones in here if you're well versed in the Bigfoot story, especially like the older ones. Some of these stories you probably have heard before or even seen the footage. So, so hold on a second. So okay, so a lot of times, some of the things I especially when it comes to Bigfoot episodes, I always talk about. Like always when I listen to Bigfoot and Beyond, I get a lot of concepts of what I want to talk about in there. So I'm like, okay, that's an interesting thing. Let me write and make a note for that, and let me talk about that later, kind of thing. So the other interesting thing about Bigfoot, that Bigfoot are aware what we can and can't do. And what I mean by that is this, or hopefully I remember some of when I originally wrote these, but hopefully I remember some of it. But it's kind of like simple. Like, think of it like this: Bigfoot know that what we're able to do. They know humans have guns, weapons, and stuff like that. Especially if they mess with us too much or at all, or blah blah blah, kind of thing. They also know that we don't move as fast as them as they do on 2 legs, or even on 4 on some stories of them running on all 4s. They know that a lot of times they know we can follow them. That's why a lot of stories of when they see a Bigfoot or anything like that, they immediately start running through like the thickest stuff, or going through thorns and everything, or going up sheer like almost sheer cliffs, to where they know they can climb up them no problem, but they know we can't even get close to even chasing them. So they just go for it, kind of thing. So they know that we can't do that. But then there's other things that they know that they don't know what we can't do. And here's what I mean by that, because that will actually go into it kind of goes in my next point as well. So one of the other things that they think they can, because obviously I'm assuming at some point Bigfoot have realized that we're similar to them in some ways. We're these bipedal haired creatures with long arms and legs and like and everything. So they're like, we're kind of similar, but not but we're different enough that they know to stay away from us and anything like any other animal would. So obviously they think that, okay, they're similar to us. They must be able to do some of the same things that we can do. Obviously they know they know we can follow them in certain ways and do certain things. But something that they seem like they don't know that we do, they don't seem to think that we can't look in the dark probably like they can. Like it's gonna come again. The first footage we'll be talking about is a prime example of that. Unless their learning skills for technology is a lot more, are a lot more better than we thought. Okay, so what's interesting? So yeah, so they don't think that we can see them in the dark because obviously because if they can, they're like, oh, these things are similar to us. They must be able to see in the dark as well. Well, unfortunately, we can't. Now, obviously, we do have flashlights, we do have thermal cameras, we have things that help us see in the dark, and maybe they can't fully put that together. Like, oh, that's not them doing it; they're using something to be able to look and be able to see in the dark. Obviously, there's a chance they probably don't know that, but I mean, it's who knows? Until we're able to read one's mind or anything, or one like talks with us, like, well, anyone's guess is as good as mine when it comes to that kind of stuff. So they obviously must think that we can do that, but we can't. So that's why in the first video we'll be talking about the squeaky thermal footage. I forget why it's called that, but it was captured by a man named Michael Green, and the footage the man has had experienced encounters on his property for a while now, or in this area that he was investigating. So what he decided to do was that he left a candy bar on a stump, placed a thermal camera away from a little bit, so if anything came up to took it, he would be able to record it. Well, lo and behold, he did. He got an image of something looked like it was crawling on its stomach, lifting its arm up, grabbing the candy bar, and then kind of like slinking away. But again, all on its stomach still. There was no light source. The only thing that was there was the thermal camera. So obviously, Bigfoot must be know in a way that we have, these some sort. Again, they must be aware we're able to see in the dark somehow, or they wouldn't be as careful. Because if they didn't think that we couldn't see them at all, like even with just our natural eyes, and no helps from any equipment like a flashlight or a thermal, that they would probably they would probably just walk around like ooh do 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 do. They would just be lollygagging about. Now are we the reasons why they're always so sneaky besides just normal hunting kind of thing? Like they obviously, like any predator, if they're trying to hunt something, they have to be quiet so they can catch it, so they can eat, so they can survive. So but the fact that this one in particular was seen crawling up on its stomach, reaching up, grabbing the candy bar from the stump, and then staying on its stomach while it slinked away, and then probably went off and did whatever after the fact. But the fact that it was so careful, thinking that we would be able to see it, that it couldn't just simply walk up there, yoink it, and then just lollygag away. Another a theory that a lot of people say is that Bigfoot is able to hear the electronics, and like cameras and thermals and like any sort of like recording equipment, and that's why they say like, oh, why don't they record them? It's like, well, they know not to walk in front of them because they probably maybe can hear the electronics in it, or like the ring or something in it that makes them be aware that there's something over there. I don't want to go in front of that area, kind of thing, for something that's telling me. Other people think that in some cases there are some stories to support this, that they're always watching us in some way, and they know that there was a human in this area fidgeting with something, and they're careful not to go in that area because they obviously don't know what it is, and they don't want to get close to an area where humans like that were. But again, there's some stories about that, but hard to say. But we'll never truly know about that because humans like to get Bigfoot like to get close to humans sometimes and everything. So it's interesting about that. So yeah, the footage isn't anything crazy. It's just a very interesting one of just this Bigfoot crawling on stomach, taking a candy bar, thinking that it can be seen. So it has to be like anything, like crawling low on the ground so it's not seen, so it could take what it needs and go. Maybe this is a circumstance. This Bigfoot saw the man, or doing something, or smelled him, and decided, like, a human did something in this area. I don't know what, but there's a candy bar, and I want a candy bar. So maybe that's why it's like it just knew that something was up in the area, not knowing that it couldn't be seen or not. It decided just to crawl on its stomach and grab the candy bar and leave the area. So who knows? It's an interesting piece of footage, and Finding Bigfoot did test it, and I believe that the creature was, I believe, bigger than Bobo, because they use him as an example, and so, and as you know, as a little like, input for getting a size of a Bigfoot kind of thing. But and you could tell that he was wearing clothing, I believe, compared to where in the target, the footage. Bleh, that the target in the footage was a solid color of white, and instead of seeing like the multiple blatches or like things of like someone wearing clothing and different heat and everything like that. But this was a solid white color, showing a solid white animal kind of thing. So pretty interesting. And definitely one, if you're interested in seeing that, I would definitely give that one a look. The next one is probably, I would honestly say, probably up there as at least not first, or like second of like one of the most controversial Bigfoot films, videos of all time, and that being the Freeman footage. Now, I actually remember seeing the Freeman footage like years ago, not knowing anything about it. Just a guy recording a video of a Bigfoot. It's like, whoa, there he goes, kind of thing, and it's said to probably be the second best video evidence of Bigfoot to date, after the Patterson and Gimlin footage. Which, don't worry, that one's coming up. We'll get to Patty. So the Freeman footage is a very interesting one. It was taken by Michael. No, that's just. Gosh dang it! I can't believe I'm messing up, because Michael Freeman is the Freeman. Is it the Michael is Paul Freeman? God, I can't believe I forgot his name. Paul Freeman. I'm so dumb. Yeah, Paul Freeman was the one who recorded the video. Who you see him talking, and it's unfortunate the Bigfoot is kind of in like the shadows a little bit, but it is there. Like, you clearly see something. It's not like it's fully on the light, but you get a pretty good look at it, and you see it for in the case of a Bigfoot footage, it was a decent amount of time that you do see this. And the footage, because I remember I saw, I was like, wow, that's so cool, kind of thing. But then after hearing more people talking about it, and I actually got a book that his son made. That's really good. It's really cool, by the way. So if you and maybe I'll post a link about it on the Facebook page. But it's a pretty cool book. It has like little QR codes that you can scan that have like audio and videos that some have never been seen before up until the book, and you can hear Paul Freeman talking about everything that happened before and during and after, and some video that like stuff that no one's ever seen. There's a bunch of pictures in it. Really well informative book that talks about Paul Freeman and everything that he went through. Unfortunately, not a lot of it not being positive. He got a lot of scrutiny from the video, thinking he was fake, he faked it and everything, and harassment of him and his family and all. He unfortunately, the man got unfortunately so much unnecessary crap that I just don't. He didn't deserve it. He was a great guy, and he got one of the best videos of Bigfoot to date. Behind the Patterson and Gimlin footage. But after hearing more people talking about it and everything, apparently after watching after hearing this, I'm like, oh crap, I forgot about that. Okay, we'll have to go back at some point. Okay, but so apparently in the footage you see the creature walking, and it goes behind a bush, and then next thing you know, it seemed like it was like it got bigger in a way. Supposedly the Bigfoot possibly picks up a young one, a child, behind a bush before it keeps walking off. And when you watch it, you kind of do see something there. It's like, yeah, it has something in its arms. Again, it's kind of in the shadows of the woods. You can see it, but not like see it very well. And it was very interesting, very, very just informative, and just a very interesting piece of footage that I think that anyone should give it a good watch and everything. Should I? come back to this. Yeah, we'll continue on. There were some notes I came up with after I wrote my initial ones, and unfortunately, I forgot to, and I made a little arrow to talk to them before I started getting to the videos. But unfortunately, I forgot. So my pen is dying on me or something. But yeah, so we'll have to come back to that. We'll come back to that with stuff later. The next one is actually is called the Independence Day footage. Obviously, this was filmed on on Independence Day, 4th of July, showing a family. I guess someone recording something. I'm actually watching it right now as we're talking about it. This black creature, comes out from behind a rock, goes behind another rock. Looks like ducks down a little bit, and then looks like it's carrying. This is a shaky camera. Oh, the thing's still behind the rock. And then next thing I know, I think it believes it comes out right from the rock, right. Where is it? Right around here. Come on. Oh, it's looking behind the rock, and it looks like it is carrying a young one. You see another little head right there, as the thing then moves quickly away and goes towards the woods. Now, there's a particular image of this, like a frame that our painter friend who from Kentucky who said he'd be more happy to do the cover for the book, did a painting of one of the frames, and I actually have it that I bought 2 years ago. So that's actually hung up below the first one that I bought from him of a fine Bigfoot thing. But I bought this from him because it was so cool. And so yeah, so the Bigfoot just takes the child. You clearly see it's holding something, and then it's gone, and then it kind of shows some zoom ins of it and everything. Very interesting piece of footage, and it's pretty good. Obviously, like everything, huh? If anything, there's obviously gonna be so much scrutiny behind it and everything. Oh, really? I didn't really know. And so it's still very cool, unique, interesting piece of footage that you see this Bigfoot come out from behind a rock, and the next thing you know, it is then carrying. Yes, I did. It is then carrying, a child that you can clearly see the other head of it. So one of the very, very, very few cases of there being a child in footage. We have this one. We have the one New York footage, which shows like a possible parent having a young one going off its shoulders and climbing around in the tree. That you clearly see some sort of primate thing swinging its arms around in the tree, and then you see like this figure below the tree going from one direction to the other as this thing is swinging around. So obviously there's a parent down there letting this thing swing around for a bit. So and then of course you got this one, and then the Paul Freeman footage. So maybe a few here and there, but there's really not a lot. I mean, having a video of just a Bigfoot alone is hard enough, but then getting one that involves a possible child, that's kind of a woo. You're already hitting the jackpot. It's like you're hitting the jackpot twice, like bam, bam, and just getting all the good jackpot stuff. So it's also the behavior for it is also just very interesting in general too. Of like it's being careful with the baby, the possible young one, and then how it just moves away. Just very interesting nonetheless, and I think it's very, very, very cool. I will post. I'll post the links to these videos so you can check them out for yourself. And of course, next we have the big one, the one that started it all for so many Bigfooters these days. And that's, of course, the Patterson and Gimlin footage or the PG film. And obviously, if you know what the PG film is, I don't have to go too deep into it. But Robert Patterson and Bob Gimlin went to Humboldt County in California to look at some possible accounts for Bigfoot activity, and that's they've been finding tracks and everything. And of course, as they're walking with their horses, they see this creature that was apparently you don't see this in the recording. You're seeing this after the fact, but supposedly this creature was kneeling down, drinking from the water. As they came up, Patty and she went off. Patty, and yes, it was a she, because if you look at the footage if you closely in the high definition, Patty clearly has breasts. Which again, I know I've talked about before, but it's just an interesting detail because I believe the fact that Patty having breasts and showing she's a female gives the most biggest authenticity to that, like that to that story, like of all, like the it's so much more than people think, because anyone who wanted to try to make a costume to fake people would never think, huh, you know what? I want to make my Bigfoot costume that I want to fake with people. I wanted to have breasts. No, that's not going to be a thing. No one, any male, especially back at that time, would never think I'm going to make a female costume. They're like, oh, I'm going to make a big buff jack male Bigfoot and everything. I'll look all big and scary and intimidating. No one would possibly think to make a female Bigfoot costume. No one. I don't believe so, but that's just how it is on how I see all that stuff. That no one in their right mind would would make a costume with breasts. So that's why I always feel like that was the most interesting thing about it. That it just wouldn't. There just wouldn't be anything about it. And I end up using this umbrella. That's going away. So that's why what also makes the PG film so important is because crackers is the fact that all the stuff that we learned from that footage, and we'll be coming back a little bit to the PG film, because there's something about there's something that I heard later that I could be wrong, but I believe that a lot of people talked about it, but we'll come back to it later about a little interesting thing that we'll talk about in a little bit. Oh, and that was the dryer. That was done. Hooray. So also, sorry, water. All this talking. I gotta get back more into talking because my throat's getting all dry and agitated. So something else that also happened was, we possibly might have startled a Bigfoot when we were in the New Jersey Pine Barrens. Right across the street from where I believe we might have found a juvenile track. We were just walking around this little area, and we were kind of like, it was kind of a bit of like a marshy area with like trails that go around it. So you kind of just walk around, stuff like that. And I was facing one particular way, and all of a sudden I heard this loud noise of something getting up, and like it was dark, it was brown, dark brown, some sort of brown. Again, it was in the shade, so it could have been a darker color than it actually was. And the flash of what something might have been like a white or something like that. It's like, huh, okay. I initially thought like, okay, I accidentally just startled like a buck, like a big buck, and that was, I got a little too close. I think that probably the distance was probably about maybe 10, 15 feet, maybe 20 max, maybe around there. And so it was close, and there wasn't a lot of open air that looked into it. I just saw the brief thing when I saw. I heard the thing. I heard something heavy getting up and then just go. It's not like I heard like trudging through. It was just a loud noise, something moving away, and I didn't hear it after that. So I was like, oh, okay, I just scared a buck. After thinking about it, I'm like, huh, wait a minute. This area is known for Bigfoot stories. There, the possible juvenile track that we found a couple years ago, the story of one crossing the road about a mile south from where this was for both of this. So it could have been possible. They're like, because I think like, okay, where I originally thought it was a deer, because I saw the quick flash of brown and the flash of white. The flash of white meaning that in the white-tailed deer, I guess maybe probably any deer in general, but white-tailed deer in general, when they're startled or they run away, they flash their tails up so you can see the undertail of their white of the undertail part of their tail that's white, and they're and they're behind. So I'm thinking, okay, maybe that's just what I saw. I saw the deer flaring its tail up, and it just went. So after all that and everything, I was like, okay. And then I was like, wait. But then it made me think about Patty a little bit. That if you watch the PG film, when she is walking away before her feet go behind some debris, you do see the bottoms of their feet, and they are white. Why? I don't know, but they are. So like, okay, there's white, they're white on the bottom of them and everything. Like, okay. But I was like, huh. What's to say that that wasn't a possibly the white tail, the white part of a deer? The heck? Hold on a second. Something with my... Huh. Something broke off of my... Oh, that was the part for the headphone jack. Okay, well, I can't use the little headphone jack part of this headphone anymore, because that that thing fell out. So that was there. Anyway, sorry, I got distracted there from feeling my headset. But yeah, something in a I wonder if I actually startled the Bigfoot that was just laying there. Because the fact it sounded heavy, and I've like watched videos of like like some bucks and deers like getting up and then moving kind of thing. And never sounded heavy. Something unless it was a really big buck. Or is there the slight possibility I accidentally got a little bit too close to a Bigfoot and then it fled? I'm definitely not saying, obviously, for sure that I was clearly a Bigfoot. There's a lot of white-tailed deer out here, so there is a pretty good chance I may have just startled possibly a big buck. But the fact that it sounded so heavy when it got up, not after the fact when it was running, but the fact that it got up, it sounded heavy, and I was like, huh. So obviously now I'm just thinking, I've asked a few people. Some people said, oh, it could have been a deer. Some people said, maybe not have been, kind of thing. But who knows? I'm not saying it's one way or the other. I'm just going with, I don't know. It is very possible. But honestly, it's kind of 50-50. It probably was a deer, but then there's still that whole thing that, what if it wasn't? Kind of thing. So obviously I can't really do too much with that, but still very interesting nonetheless. And part of me hopes that, I really hope that was not and I got a brief glimpse of one, but I can't say for sure. I can't say one way or the other. I can't say for sure yes, can't say for sure no. We will see. So now the next thing we're talking about is now the one probably, I would probably say, one of the most well-known, popular, and also most talked about Bigfoot stories of all time. Move my blanket because I'm getting warm, stretching my legs out. Oh yeah, there we go. And that is the Albert. Where is it? Albert Otzman story. I know I've mentioned it before, so I won't go too deep into it. But this story happened back in 1924. Oh yeah, same year as Ape Canyon. We'll get to that shortly. But yeah, so Albert Otzman was a. Now I won't read because I did find like the whole story of the account that was put on the BFRO website, and it's a long thing too. But long story short, he was out camping, and during the night, I think he was a gold miner. So he in the middle of the night, while he was sleeping, in his sleeping bag, something took him. Something placed it over his shoulder and carried him in a distance of he wasn't sure how far for how long. But at some point, the thing finally didn't place him down, and for the next couple of days, he was actually in the company of this family of Bigfoot, believing that it was the male that picked him up and brought him here. Why? No one knows. He doesn't even know. He has a possible suggestion, thinking that there was a younger one, not necessarily like a young, but like there were, I believe there were like two or three, or three or four of them, and one of them looked like like it may have been like a younger-ish female. So you're thinking, oh God, did they bring me here to mate with this one? Kind of thing. Who knows? There's really no way. Not like you're like, hey, why'd you guys take me? But for all this time that he was there, he just sat in this little area, and just these things just sat there and observed them. Sure, I think sometimes they would go off and eat and stuff like that, but there was always one of them were always watching him, making sure he didn't leave or anything like that. They didn't try to hurt him or anything. You might be thinking, how did he get away? Well, the only thing that got him was he took some snuff, which was like chewing tobacco, and he was chewing it. And now, of course, I think one of the Bigfoot, I think it was probably the male, got curious of what he was doing. So what he did was that he offered it up to the Bigfoot. Obviously, the Bigfoot clearly saw that he was putting it in its mouth, thinking, oh, he was eating it. Well, that's not what you really do. You really just chew it, and you get the whole tobacco thing from it. So he hands the can to it. The Bigfoot just takes it, and next thing you know, just opens his mouth, and goes, just starts pouring the stuff down his throat, and it starts like freaking out. Tries to go to the water, tries to it drops it, tries to get some water and everything. He then takes this opportunity and goes. Now, let's see if I can be able to find it. But apparently, while he tries to leave, apparently the female tries to stop him. Like that, nothing can happen. God, wow, he really does look a lot, even before the actual count itself. But but he was able to get away from him, even with the female blocking him. He got away, and he went back and then told people he was like shaking, he was terrified and everything, that he was just kidnapped by his family, Bigfoot, for like a couple days. And again, they never harmed him. Like if they wanted to, they probably could have taken him out like that. They never did. They never hurted him or hurted him. My goodness, they never hurt him or anything. So pretty interesting. Again, also one of the things that people say, oh, he didn't actually do that. Like a lot, again, like any stories, like one of the stories, like it's always too fantastic to believe. So people immediately think, oh yeah, that's not true. Like immediately shut it down. But I believe it possibly might have been. A guy like this, because this is only the early days of Bigfoot. Hold on, because I believe it was also around the when was the Yeti mentioned in the into the west in the west. When did Yeti first get its name? It was definitely like I remember it was before the PG. It was before the Powers and Gimlin footage. um, I believe it was around. No, skits. Uh, first Yeti track picture. Year. Okay, 1951. So even the whole Yeti thing wasn't even a thing yet, and of course, then the PG film didn't happen until even time after that. So the whole idea of Bigfoot and everything was still pretty new for like for people in general. So like sure there are pockets in there here and there. Of course, and this was in the Pacific Northwest. So of course, actually, you know what? No, sorry. This story actually wasn't in the Pacific Northwest. Actually, hold on a second. It was no okay. No, it wasn't Pacific Northwest because it was in British Columbia, but it was in Canada. So yes, this wasn't in Northern California. But still, the fact that this did happen and it's a very well known story of of all that. Okay, I can get rid of this now. So yeah, very interesting story. There hasn't been another one like that besides the one story of like I guess from like a year or so ago of the little boy who went missing and was taken care of by a bear, kind of thing. But like apparently the Bigfoot was taking care of the kid. Or supposedly the kid went missing. Said and they when they finally found him, he was perfectly safe. He was fine. He wasn't dirty. He was well fed. Like the kid was pretty fine. And they asked like, "What happened?" He's like, "Oh, the bear took care of me." Like, or course, again, being a little kid, obviously he probably knows what a bear is at that point. Sees this fuzzy, hairy creature, helping him and stuff like that. It's like, oh, a bear. But giant fuzzy thing equals bear. Not a giant fuzzy thing that looks like a human equals a Bigfoot, kind of. He's thinking he's helped by a bear. But everyone speculates that he was actually helped by a Bigfoot that kept him alive. So interesting story nonetheless, but there aren't many stories of Bigfoot taking people and stuff like this that are can at least be more confirmed and everything. That same year, Ape Canyon happened in 1920. I'm not sure if I said before, but this story happened in 1924, the same year the Ape Canyon incident happened. Again, I won't go too brief. I won't go too into it because we already talked about it. But the video, the whole story itself was fantastical and everything. And if you haven't already, by this not time now, the video of the story of it of Small Town Monsters on YouTube is now there. That talks about that talks about Ape Canyon with our friend and guest that we had last year, Mark Marcel. So if you haven't already, go to Facebook, go to YouTube. I'll make sure I put a link for that actually, oh yeah, all the links for this will all be in the notes in the information for the video. So make sure you go check that out. But yeah, so go. It's really good. It's fantastic. We talked after we watched it the first time because I supported this year's stuff on Kickstarter, and afterwards I called up Mark. He talked about a little bit some stuff that happened that wasn't mentioned in the video. Was one of the filmmakers apparently might have had something grabbing his leg that was sticking out of the tent. Didn't pull him or anything like that, but like he felt something tugging on his leg, and he brought his leg in, and the thing went away. So the Bigfoot are supposedly still there, and they were there when they were recording some of this. So pretty interesting stuff for sure. um, so next one we have the William Rowe encounter in 1955. Another interesting story of of the man of this. Thought it was a male at first. During his whole encounter again, everyone when he saw this creature, okay, hold on, let me see if maybe I can read a little bit of it. Um, I love there's a lot to it. I feel like probably best if I just read it. It wouldn't be best if I probably read the whole thing. It wouldn't be good podcasting in a way. Maybe it would, maybe it wouldn't, because I guess it is audio kind of thing. But he saw this creature, and originally he thought it was male, but after a bit he realized that it had breasts. Again, another interesting thing that even today, stories of the Bigfoot that people saw being a female is very few and far between. It's really not mentioned a lot. They just mentioned I saw Bigfoot and there it goes. And a lot of times they seem to be male. Maybe that's just how it is, or people just don't maybe notice the breast because of certain circumstances. Because a lot of times stories happen at night and you can't see it fully and stuff like that. So another thing that adds more backbone behind it that this wasn't fake, because why would someone make up a story that I saw a Bigfoot with breasts? They would say I saw this big burly Bigfoot, kind of thing. If they're really making up, no one would think to immediately go, I'm going to say my Bigfoot was female. No, this wouldn't happen. Sure, even by this point, the PG film still hasn't happened yet, so we're still good there. As he was I saw watching, apparently he also saw as like lips curl, the flexibility. Like apparently it saw it eating leaves, and the lip flexibility that it had to go around the leaves, like a lot of primates do. It's another thing with the PG film that they said that when you look back at it, it looks like what is that? I'm actually gonna look this up real quick. Turn the microphone a little bit. There we go. What is the lip of a chimpanzee called? They're called prehensils. If you're look at a picture of an ape, more so like a chimpanzee or an orangutan, they've got like these really flexible big old lips kind of thing that they have. And apparently this Bigfoot had something very similar to that and was eating the leaves. But apparently it's also believed that Patty, in some of the footage in the higher definition, she seems like she has that as well. It's another very interesting detail that this person saw and everything with the story. So just a very interesting one that, I mean, there's probably more. There's obviously a lot more to it, but like there's a lot to read here and everything. If there are specific stories you want me to like read over or anything like that, like actually like read it, let me know in the comments below. Maybe if it's a good one, maybe we'll look into it and we'll talk about it and stuff like that. So it's I know I breathe with, again, this is our 4th episode with Bigfoot and everything, so obviously I probably talked about it at some point. But of course, people always ask, like, why isn't there a body yet? Like, why hasn't someone gotten this thing in this crosshair and went, blam, I got a Bigfoot, kind of thing. But the interesting thing is that there are some stories of people supposedly saying that they have done that. But of course, so many of these stories seem to happen in times where they don't get the body right away. They bury it or dispose of it somewhere nearby. When they come back, the body's gone. So I'm like, okay. So obviously not adding a lot of credibility to the story. All you really have is a story and no real evidence, because some of these things are like, they don't come back for the body till like weeks, months later. So it's not like they come back like right away. It's like, I think one story is like someone got it while it was in winter, buried it, and then it came back. They couldn't exactly find it, and they think they did. They couldn't find it again. So, but a lot of times there are people who've said that they've gotten the thing in the crosshairs, like they are staring down the barrel and they are ready to blow this thing's head off. But the thing that stops them is the face, on how human it looks, which immediately then starts making people think, like, crap, is this actually a creature or is this a person? Like, the whole thought process of like, I don't want to go in for murder, they can't, they aren't 100% sure that this thing is not a human, so they can't pull the trigger on it, because they don't also want to like shoot this thing and then get arrested for murder or something like that that's close enough to a human. So who knows? That's what a lot of times people have said that they've seen it and they just haven't done it because of that. But yeah, but it just seemed too human, and a lot of people, they just couldn't pull the trigger, and it is what it is, kind of thing. But yeah, hold on, let's see. Some people believe that a lot of primates are strictly vegetarian. Um, but then, of course, there are some stories like chimpanzees of eating other chimpanzees of other clans, or smaller monkeys are eating meat. So, I think of anything, I don't believe Bigfoot are vegetarian. They're omnivores. They eat everything, anything they can get their hold of. They're scavengers. They eat just anything that they can get their hands on. Especially in the wilderness, you don't know what you're going to come across. So you got to get what you can. That's why there's some stories of them possibly taking, like roadkill, and to see how old or new it is. So maybe they might. I bet I don't. I would not. There'd be no way that they wouldn't make use of some roadkills in some way. Let's see. Apparently, another thing that so another interesting thing that adds some interestingness to it, that I got from listening to Cliff and Bobo, was that a lot of primates, like chimpanzees and other things, they have hair on their breasts. But when you kind of look at the footage, it kind of looks like, they don't have hair on their chests. Obviously, of course, for easier access and stuff like that. But Patty did. Again, it's very hard, but like the Patty is a solid color, a solid brown, right? Was Patty brown? Well, she was a solid color regardless, but she had hair everywhere, especially over her breasts. And so now that adds a thing more validity to, of like humans. Who knows how we like we have hair on our chests, and and everything, some more so than others. Like, obviously, but primates seem to have been like a lot less hair to no hair on their chest, but while humans do. So now that kind of like aims it more toward the direction of what Bigfoot could possibly be. Could they be more primate, or could they be more human, like more like a humanoid like creature like us, more than like an actual like a chimpanzee? Even though, like, technically we are all primates, humans are primates, but maybe they're leaning more towards being more humanoid than like primate, older primate, like current primate kind of thing. Hard to say, but it's a very interesting little detail about that. So this was something that I thought about, that was like, this is something I definitely have to mention. Excuse me. That during some of these encounters that people have had with Bigfoot and everything, what were they doing before and after? Some cases, they are just going from one place to another, and they get spotted or see something. Some of them are being disturbed while they're eating or drinking, like Patty was supposedly drinking, and some animals that are seen eating stuff and everything, and they get disturbed, they have to leave. But what about after the sighting? There is one story of that someone encountered and possibly saw Bigfoot. It went off to its left into the bushes, and the man left. But the man, I think like a day or so later, came back and actually looked at the tracks and where the creature was, and saw that the creature was there. Sorry about this. Hold on a second. And then the man followed the tracks, but then followed that not far from where it thing hid behind a bush. That it actually saw the tracks. Like, it actually looked like it actually faced the bush, facing the person, actually hunkered down there. It didn't immediately leave the area. So that makes you think, did this thing like just want to see what it did, or what's this human doing, kind of thing? Or it's like, no, I don't want to leave here. Maybe if I stay hidden, he'll think I'm not here anymore, and he'll leave, and I can resume what I was doing. Or, something else. Like, who knows? But it's just a very interesting thing that so Cliff, Matt and Bobo were saying that if you see a Bigfoot and you want to check out where it was, try to follow its tracks a little bit and see if it stayed nearby while you were in the area, to see what you were doing after you saw it. I was like, now it makes you wonder, like, how much more information on some of these tracks and everything could we have, if people found out they actually went back, saw where the thing was, follow the tracks a little bit, and then maybe see if it was still nearby. Now, am I saying that every single Bigfoot does this? No, probably not. Most videos and stories of Bigfoot say this thing just booked it. It left. It went. I could hear it moving away from me. Like it did not stick around. It left. But I still think that it would be worthwhile checking out some of these, or at least looking into these things a bit more, seeing, think, all right, fine, follow track. Maybe it didn't stay, maybe it stayed nearby. Another interesting thing is that some people believe that Patty might have circled back during if you watch the footage, she's in the open and then she starts walking toward a thicker part of the woods. But behind where they was, there are trees up there. It's kind of like a little ridge. I could be wrong, but I believe I heard something that Patty may have went to the woods and then circled back around to those trees to look at the people that just saw her and say, what the heck are these guys doing over here? Kind of like, what are they doing? But I can't remember for that for sure, but supposedly that is true. And also people also wonder, like, was Patty ever seen again? Like, were her tracks ever found? Like, supposedly there are some stories that some of her tracks may have been found in other areas, but I can't remember that for sure, or she even was seen. But supposedly her tracks were found in other areas, which is kind of neat. Not sure how often you can say, like, oh yeah, this Bigfoot here. Oh yeah, supposedly this Bigfoot may have been saw like a month or so later in this other area, because the tracks are very similar to the original PG film tracks, which I have both of her feet, by the way. Pretty cool. And so, yeah, let's see. And yeah, that's it. I'm sorry this one was such a long time coming. I'm going to try to stick with this new 2-week schedule, starting from, so let's say this episode came out yesterday. The next episode should be, okay, that's one. There we go. Next episode should be on December 12th. Wait, that's a Friday. December 13th is when the next episode should come out. So what it will be, I have no idea. There is a guest that I am working on that might be able to come in that might come out in the next couple, episodes or so. So he says he's interested, so fingers crossed. But yeah, that's pretty much gonna be it. I'm sorry it's been so long. I'm glad to be back. I've missed everyone so much. I'm ready to get into this. I'm ready to get back into this again, and I'm ready to start doing the book that I'm so excited to do, and just can't wait for people to get its hand on it and just see what I'm doing with it, and hoping it turns out great and it's just gonna be a fun time. But I hope everyone is having a good day. I hope everyone had a good Thanksgiving and everything, and hopefully you didn't go too crazy on Black Friday. Hopefully you didn't have to punch anyone for that shirt you wanted or anything like that. And if you did, hopefully you did punch them. Hopefully you won. And if you lost, I am sorry. But I hope everyone has a good day and everything. We do have an email. I do have an email, cryptidtalk91@aol.com. If you have any stories that you want to share, or you know anyone that does, or anyone that needs someone to, like, hey, I saw this thing, I don't know what it is, can you give me an idea what I might have been? Or if you need someone to investigate or something, like, send them my way, cryptidtalk91@aol.com. And of course, also, again, just make sure if you're listening to this on YouTube, obviously, like, share, subscribe, and all that fun stuff. It helps me out. I'm working on possibly, getting this onto Apple Podcasts, because apparently a lot of people I've heard, it's like, I don't really have a YouTube, and I don't have YouTube Premium, so it's like I can't have it. I can't, like, lock it and it stops it, so it doesn't keep going. So, I'll see what I can do about that to see how much it is, see if it's going to be worth it in the end and everything. Also I met someone, or I was talking to someone that I bought shirts for back in the convention in August, and he said he'd be more than happy to make some shirts, like legit good shirts, not the crappy ones that we tried making with the ironing ons, but hopefully, it turns out well. And in the near future, we're gonna be kicking some real butt in the future. We're excited and everything. I can't wait for things to start, coming together and everything. And again, subscribe to my YouTube, to the Facebook page. Follow it, facebook.com/Cryptid Talk. If you want to see some of these links and stuff I'm going to be posting on there, that's the only way you're going to be able to see them, unless you want to look them up yourself. But follow the Facebook page. There's like less than half of how many subscribers I have, so a lot of you are missing out on some really cool things that I'm posting on there. So make sure you follow. But I hope everyone has a good day. I miss you all. Glad to be back. The motivation's back, and I'm ready to kick some serious butt this year and everything. But remember, everyone, keep your ears and eyes open for the creepiness in store. because you never know what you'll find outside of your door. This has been Cryptid Talk with Michael Madden. Have a good day, everyone. Stay safe. Love you all.